This week's chapter of Gintama, chapter 602, was a complete 360 on what happened in chapter 601. While 601 brought us back to what we knew Gintama for its comedy, with, a whole Shonen Jump shenanigan and the Bleach and Isekoi ending, and, their live action movie worrying about if their actors can play them really good. This chapter just showed us again what the current situation is going on with the manga and how we're at war. And while we may have some very few in between funny moments, the situation is large at hand. Now we have an introduction of a new character by the name of Enshou. He also goes by the name of Gunsmoke Prince. At one point, he was like basically the prince of his home planet. He was a father, and he had an unborn child coming along, and they almost had a type of similar way of fighting to the Yato, meaning like they could not leave the battle scene unhanded. They kind of like fighting as well, and if he was to leave the battle scene, his wife would have probably kicked his ass. But the thing was, we learned that he also was like an enemy to Shijaku, but they came to a truce now due to the interference with the Tendoshu destroying Enshou's home planet, meaning everyone, even his loved ones, dying, and he swore vengeance on them, and that's how they came together to create the Liberation Army. Now, the quote that I really liked, that kind of was almost like the theme for the most part of this chapter, was the quote that Shijaku used. He used the quote that the end result of freedom without responsibility is only destruction. Now, you can try to interpret as many ways as you can. Of course, we know liberation means freedom to some extent, and that's what the Earthlings have been trying to fight for, and that's what possibly the Liberation Army was trying to do, try to so-called protect the Earthlings from the Tendoshu, possibly ensuring that they have their safety and whatever freedom. But like, how much freedom were they willing to give them? Like, it didn't make no difference to the Earthlings, just like how the Amanta invaded their home 20 years prior to the storyline. But at the same time, when you think about like having freedom, how much freedom can you have as a person before it becomes too much, and to the point that it can cause utter chaos? Now, it's like, when you have freedom, there always has to be a cap on top of it. You have to draw back, because too much freedom, too much of anything can always lead to a bad thing. So that was the quote that I really liked in this chapter, and that's what they all are trying to do. They just want freedom, but at the end of the day, sometimes too much of it can, like I said, can lead to a bad thing. And while these two are still trying to figure out a way on how to defeat the Tendoshu, we also see that the whole reason why everybody's getting together is because, the Tendoshu took a lot from everybody. They took a lot, and everyone is frustrated. They're angry with them. And the fact that the Altana, it's gathering because so much planets, the Altana is destroyed, so it's gathering in one space, and its energy is expanding. And the scariest part that happened at the end of the chapter that was really scary was where we saw like how Enshou said this war is not going to end, and then they come into this this abandoned ship that was destroyed, and in that abandoned ship they come into like some type of laboratory, and then they see like pieces of so-called dead Tendoshu members, where just like their upper bodies and then their skeletons, part of their brains is out. It really looked really gross, and they're in these tubes and they cannot die. Remember, if they have that Altana blood in them, flowing in them, their bodies cannot die. They could, but their bodies will still remain, still intact or still live on, and they cannot die. And what happens at the end of the chapter was he betrays him. You thought they would have been at a truce with each other, but he ends up betraying him and throwing him in jail while they go on saying, we're going to continue this war against Utsuro and the Tendoshu, and anybody else that's going to be in it, they're going to be thrown into this war. So like, if you thought it was dark before, it turned it was disgusting by the end of this chapter. It was really creepy looking, and just seeing how what they're gonna do with these members. I don't know if they're going to use them as puppets for themselves. And we also saw like anybody that was facing against Utsuro in this chapter, they're not dying. They got slashed, possibly their whole torso ripped out, their necks cut, and they're coming back alive. So we don't know if they're like they got Utsuro's blood. Possibly they did, and they're not dying. So what happened was Sakamoto, Nobunobu, and everybody else is getting arrested now. They're gonna be held as hostages, and Yutsuro's on Earth right now, and Gintoki and the others have yet to see him, and it's getting from bad to worse. Like last week's chapter, you can just say it was just a fluke. This chapter just showed us like how dark and grim Earth's future is in any other planet within the galaxy, and we don't know what's going to happen on here on out. Like it's unpredictable with Gintama at this moment. Like you cannot predict what's going to happen because so much things are going through so much characters' minds. And with this whole Tendoshu and versus the Liberation Army and then versus the Earthlings, we don't know who will reign supreme at the end of the day. Of course, this is shonen, so we're hoping that Gintoki will live to see it. But knowing Soroichi, he likes to be unpredictable. So I don't know at this point, man. I really can't say for sure. I like I said, Gintama is unpredictable. This chapter just took a 360, and it just got really dark by the end of the chapter. So if you saw this week's chapter of Gintama, chapter 602, do leave in the comment section below on what your thoughts are on it, how you felt by the end of the chapter, how do you feel about this new character, Enshou, and how will Sakamoto and the others be able to escape without being, end up dead, or will someone die by the next chapter? Or do you have a feeling someone is going to die by the next chapter? I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye!